Hey friends, hope the morning's treating you well. Hope you got your coffee. I got some corporate coffee here. I'm going to hide from the camera. It's the only thing I could find. But I'm driving through the Florida Keys. I took off about 2 hours ago from Key West, and I'm trying to make it to the mainland. I'm on the front end of a 21-hour drive, and I figured over the next couple days, I'm probably going to do it in 2 days, maybe 10 or 11 hours a day, and I just realized I won't be able to upload anything. I don't have time to make a video for Saturday morning, so I thought maybe I should talk to the folks while I'm driving through the Florida Keys. So here I am. That's what it's going to be this morning. I'm going to talk about a little bit of what I've been doing the last few days. I played a gig last night and the night before in Key West, and it was really great. It was fun. It was the studios at Key West. They had me in, and just a lot of nice people. I've said this before, man, but one of the beautiful things about doing what I do, I just meet so many damn nice people. You know, I don't meet a lot of assholes, and I'm very, very lucky about that, and I'm grateful for that. But over the last few days, I drove down from Indianapolis, and I drove down from Indianapolis and stopped in Nashville the first night because I saw that my buddies Sean Camp and Mike Bubb, who are friends of the channel. There's stuff on here. You guys, if you haven't seen the Sean Camp talking about taking John Prine to the Billy Strings show, and him and John Prine walking through the audience, and the audience all realizing, oh my God, that's John Prine, and they part like the Red Sea. There's all of these lit up faces of, you know, love for John Prine. Just a beautiful little story. Sean tells some other stories on here. Mike Bubb, you know, there's nobody better than Mike. Mike's just a great guy with a wealth of knowledge and is generous about sharing it. And, you know, you go way down the rabbit hole with Mike. There's a few different things on here with him that I strongly recommend. If you haven't heard it, there's a story that Mike Bubb tells. It was on my podcast. I maybe published it 10 years ago. It's on my audio podcast, Thanks for Giving a Damn. It's really, really good. But he got to play with a lot of the bluegrass greats, but Bill Monroe. And he's on his tour bus. This is the first time he ever played with him. And he's like being really nice, Mr. Monroe, yes sir, no sir. And Bill Monroe has this, I almost said Mike Monroe, Hanoi Rocks. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Mike Monroe? Why do I say that? Mike Bubb, Bill Monroe. There's a story, I guess Bill Monroe has this beautiful, beautiful white cowboy hat. Spotless, pristine. It's a beautiful thing. Bill Monroe sits it down. Mike Bubb somehow fumbles or spills coffee, and you see this one bead of coffee traveling all the way over, and he's like, no! And that bead of coffee hits Bill Monroe's hat, and there's a stain, a coffee stain on it. His first day with Bill Monroe, and he's messed up his hat. So then Mike just talks about the shame, you know, feeling terrible about that. And then all of the links that he went to get that hat cleaned and make it right. It's really good. I don't know what episode it is. I titled it. It probably said something about Bill Monroe and Mike Bubb. But look that up. And those of you who know, a lot of you have heard it. You know, tell me down below if you've heard that. If you haven't listened to Thanks for Giving a Damn, you should look that up. But anyway, so Sean Camp and Mike Bubb and Guthrie Trapp. I've become buddies with Guthrie. Guthrie's a great guy. He's a great guitar player. Now, I had seen him around town in Nashville or East Nashville, but I never knew him. And we have a ton of mutual friends. And it's just kind of the way it is, where if you've done this for a little while, whenever you meet somebody, they kind of know everybody that you know already. So it's really a neat little tapestry of interesting people. But I had mentioned in a video here recently that I saw Guthrie playing at the Underdog in East Nashville a couple weeks ago. It was great. It was really great. If you go to Nashville, make the Monday night there part of that. Here's what I recommend: the trifecta, the badass guitar trifecta or whatever. There's Patrick Sweeney plays with his band the Tiger Beats over at the five spot in East Nashville. It's an earlier thing. It probably starts at 6, something like that. Go over there, take that in for an hour, then go to the Underdog and see Guthrie. Stick around for an hour or so of that. This is all on Monday nights in Nashville. And then go over to 3rd and Lindsley and see my buddy Andy Reese with the Time Jumpers. And that will give you a beautiful, beautiful, rich glimpse into what Nashville can be. It's a great night in Nashville. I guarantee if you go do all 3 of those things, hell, if you do 2 out of 3 of those things, you will have a memorable night in Nashville. And you'll see a lot of people be like, hey, that's such and such. I recognize that person. You know, you might even see me hanging out at one of those. But go check those things out. But I had met Guthrie years ago. I talk about my poker games. I played with Andy Reese at his house every Tuesday for years. We played poker. Guthrie showed up a couple times. And so just the one night we're playing poker. And we're like, hey, man, just shooting the crap. But really didn't know him. Didn't know him at all. I don't even know that he remembers that we played poker. He says he remembers coming over, but it doesn't matter. But recently we just kind of connected and hit it off. And we both talk to people on YouTube and have a similar community, and there's a lot of overlap. Tell me down below if you guys watch Guthrie's channel. He gives guitar lessons and tells stories about his life and the people he's crossed paths with, and he has an interesting walk, and he's really, really good. It's a really fun channel. I've watched it for a long, long time, and go check it out if you haven't seen it and subscribe. But what I'm getting at, Guthrie was playing with Sean Camp and Mike Bubb. They were playing at a place called Fox and Lock down in Leaper's Fork. And it used to be Puckett's Grocery, but it's a really nice little venue. The guy that owns it just said he wanted to make the best 125 seat venue in the world, and it's a nice little thing. But Sean Camp is just freaking fabulous. Mike Bubb is fabulous, and Guthrie Trapp is fabulous. This is going to be good, So I went down and I came in for sound check, and we all hung out, and it was great to reconnect. The other guys in the band are really great. I met them all that night, but I don't remember everyone's name. I remember Jimmy Stewart was playing dobro, singing really, really great harmony with Sean. Really, really great stuff. But they hadn't played together. This whole band had not been in the same room together for 2 years. They just came in and winged it. And I'm here to tell you, brothers and sisters, when the cats in Nashville decide to wing it, it's on a whole different level than just about everywhere else in the world. And you get a really, really well-rehearsed band from, St. Louis, or I don't want to make fun of anybody, from wherever else, Indianapolis, wherever else, and they're not going to be as good as when the Nashville cats are winging it. And I don't mean that as a put down of anyone else. I mean that as a celebration of how good the players in Nashville are, and those particular players. But it was great. It was really great. Sean's written a bunch of hits for people like Garth Brooks. There's like people that big that have covered his songs or cut his songs. He's also one of Guy Clark's favorites. So there's actually for the audio podcast, there's an episode. It's one of my favorites that I ever did. Like little moments of interview when you realize something really special happened, where to me it felt like it. I hope this camera isn't kicking around too much. I'm here on these little 2-lane roads trying to get out of Key West, and the speed limits are really low and it's a little bit bumpy, so I apologize if this kicks around much. But on the audio podcast, I called it Guy Clark's favorite t-shirt, because Guy Clark's favorite t-shirt was a Sean Camp shirt. That's his tour shirt that Sean gave him years ago. And Sean just shares stories about him. I even published the audio on this YouTube channel somewhere, I think under that same title. And it's really, really good stuff. If you haven't seen it and you're a Guy Clark fan, or if you haven't heard it, you need to. Guy Clark, when he passed away, Sean was in the room and he was wearing that t-shirt, that Sean Camp t-shirt. And really great stuff. But so Sean's an interesting cat, man, where he's got like the Guy Clark love and the Guy Clark seal of approval, which is huge. He wrote Sis Draper, one of my favorite Guy Clark songs that Guy Clark didn't even write. Sean wrote that. And he also had people like Garth Brooks recording his songs, and George Strait, stuff like that. So Sean has an interesting walk in life. But so my first night on this little trek towards Florida, I stopped off there, saw them, hung out. It was just great. I actually filmed like their sound check. They did a half of a song for a sound check after not playing for 2 years, and we're kind of like, all right, half a song. And then I filmed their first 3 songs, and I put it up on Patreon, on my Patreon and channel members, and folks seem to enjoy that. If you like that sort of thing, you can go, help support the channel and see things like that. I try to just share a few things like that when I can. And let's see, also, so I went and stayed at Fiddler's Inn that night, which was where I've recorded a lot of the interviews on the channel, like some of the Kenny Vaughn stuff in the hotel room, Mike Bubb in the hotel room. There's a lot of stuff. Some of the recent stuff you've seen of the hotel room interviews, Warner Hodges, that was where that was done. And so I stayed there, and then I started driving down through Georgia. Oh man, I saw the sun come up, left really early, saw the sun come up in Chattanooga and the Smoky Mountains. God, this was a week ago. It doesn't even seem like a week ago. And I made it all the way down to Lake City, Florida. And that's where I stayed the next night. And when I got there, I saw a stray cat sniffing around by a dumpster outside the hotel, and I'm just kind of like, oh man, oh gosh, I went over and tried to walk up to him, but he was afraid, he's feral, and he ran away. And so I was like, okay, I don't know why I don't always travel with cat food, because you see strays, and so I looked on my map on my phone and saw somewhere I could go locally and buy some cat food. So I went back and I laid out some piles, and when I got back there was a little black cat, looked like Malcolm or Daryl, and just gave me the feels. I'm like, all right man, I gotta feed this cat. So a little tip, when you're feeding strays or ferals or even squirrels or birds, I try to put a lot of different piles, 15, 20 feet away, quite a few of them, so that if there's multiple cats, they won't all fight over the same pile, and like more of them can get fed. And just a little tip. That's probably obvious, but if you didn't know that, that's, I'll say that to you. But I fed those cats, but I bought a big bag, and I had about half the bag poured out, and I was like, well, I'll just put the rest of this in the car, because I'm going to see more. There's going to be more strays. Speed limit just went down to 35, so we're going to slow down a little bit. And so anyway, I drive down. Where did I go? I was going to go see Coral Castle. Oh, wait, the next morning, I drove about an hour and a half out of the way to, is it Borden, Florida? I don't remember where it was, but it was somewhere way north of Tampa, some little small town, but I visited Bo Diddley's grave, and love Bo Diddley. I mean, I really love Bo Diddley, and I visited his grave. It's a huge stone with the rectangular Gretsch guitar on the thing, and it's like right by the road up on a little bit of a hill. It just kind of seems like a roadside attraction, because as you drive by, there's the big Bo Diddley grave, and underneath a beautiful live oak. It was really great. We're hitting some bumps again, but yeah, it was pretty great. I filmed some stuff. When I get back home, I'm going to put that together and make a video about from Bo Diddley's grave, visiting his gravesite. That's going to take a little while to put it together, but I did film some stuff. And then I started driving south, and my goal was to stop in Homestead, Florida for the night, get a hotel in Homestead. And you see all this construction going on here? I love these old hotels. There's all these really great old roadside signs, and there's not a lot of chains, which is kind of neat. I found like the one corporate coffee place. I just wasn't seeing any coffee anywhere, and I saw the Clown and thought, hell with it, I need coffee, so I got some. But anyway, I was going to go to Homestead, Florida, and get a hotel for the night, and then the next morning I was going to go to Coral Castle. Do you guys know what Coral Castle is? Is it Ed Lee Scanlon? He's a guy who was an immigrant from, I don't remember, Slovakia or Croatia. I don't remember where he was from, but he was spurned by his lover and decided he was going to build this castle out of coral to win her back or something. So he dedicated the rest of his life to doing this. But he has these huge slabs of coral that are supposedly too big for cranes to move today. And however many years ago, 80 years ago, I don't remember when it was, 1940s, I don't remember what the decades were. You can Google Coral Castle and find all of this. He somehow moved and perfectly balanced these huge pieces of stone, and there's all kinds of mythology around this about how he claimed to know the secrets to how the pyramids were made, and blah blah blah. As a kid, Mrs. Mack's Kitchen, you can Google Mrs. Mack's Kitchen and see where I'm at. As a kid, I would watch In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy. Do you guys remember that? This was back when there's the Key Largo Inn, so I guess I'm coming through Key Largo. This was back when conspiracy theories and things like that were fun. You remember those days before it was where all of the whack jobs just decided to, have their crazy ideas about the world? It used to be fun talking about Bigfoot, UFOs, and all of that stuff. As a little kid, I thought it was fun. When Leonard Nimoy would talk about Coral Castle, that was a big deal. And I always wanted to go there as a kid. Always wanted to go there. And years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I was touring, opening for the Bottle Rockets, and we played in Miami, and I don't even remember where we played. I don't even know where. It's the only time I've ever played in Miami. And you guys know where the alt country gig is in Miami? I don't remember, but maybe you were at that show. But I'm going to get sidetracked a little bit. I apologize. Just I have like nice memories. My buddy Todd was with me. This is 15 years ago, I'm sure. Maybe 13, maybe 16. But Whenever we played the gig, I don't remember anything about the gig at all. But I remember afterwards, we all had a hotel, and it was the old school where you park right in front of the door to the hotel, and you walk your stuff. The door to the hotel room, and you walk your stuff in. And there's also an upstairs balcony. We were all staying on an upstairs balcony of this. So we opened up the doors of our rooms that were all next to each other, and we all brought a chair out and sat on the balcony, and we were by the ocean, and it was probably 2 or 3 in the morning, and we're all just sitting out there, a bunch of Midwesterners who were dumb enough, to play some music and learn instruments, and here we are playing for people who enjoyed the music. And we're sitting out enjoying the breeze coming in off the ocean at 2 or 3 in the morning. And Brian Henneman was telling great stories. And Brian Henneman's a great storyteller. There's stuff of him on my audio podcast. I've tried to interview Brian. Brian's retired now. I've tried to interview him since I've been doing this YouTube thing. And Brian says he's done being interviewed. He's done with all of it. So he doesn't want to do any more interviews, and I'm cool with that. Oh, we got a stop sign or stop light. It's hard to make time when you're hitting these lights. You got to drive 21 hours and you're stopping at stoplights on your only route home. But I remember sitting out there and just listening to Brian tell stories, and it was great. And I don't know, just that's part of the beauty of this music thing is it's fun to play music for people, but you meet folks. Like, I love the guys in the Bottle Rockets, and there's my best buddy Todd out there with me, and we're just hanging, and it's beautiful to meet and make friends like that. And some of those guys later played a gig with me in Indianapolis, John and Keith. But anyway, the next day, Todd and I drove out to Coral Castle. So we were there 15 years ago. And it was great. It was kind of like we're looking at each other. We do that sometimes. I'm guessing people do that when they go to the Eiffel Tower. When they go to the Grand Canyon. This thing that they've always seen all of their life. And then there they are. And they kind of look at your friend and you kind of smile and like, yeah, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. So we took some pictures around there. It was like 15 years ago. But that's the only time I'd ever been, and it was great. So I stayed at a hotel the night before so that I could go the next morning. And there was another stray cat outside the hotel that was feral also. And I had the cat food with me, and I dumped out a bunch of food for it and fed it that night and the next morning. And kind of broke my heart and all that. But got up the next morning to go by Coral Castle, only to find out that they were closed for the week. And so no way to go to that. So I missed out on that. It's kind of bummed. But I started driving towards Key West, and I was coming the other way on this trip right here. It's about 3.5 hours from Homestead to Key West, which, to be honest with you, if it was just a straight interstate, it would probably be a little over an hour. But the fact that it's these small roads and there's lights, you got to go 35 mile an hour through a lot of it. I'm in a 45 mile an hour zone right now, and I'm going 50, so I need to slow down. They enforce it pretty well, which is pretty cool. They probably make a lot of money off the tourists coming through here too fast. But anyway, I made it into Key West. The venue owns a house that was gifted to them in 2019 by someone named Hunter. It was called the Hunter House is the name of the house. It's a nice place, and like a 3-bedroom house in a really desirable location, which I guess all of Key West is pretty desirable. I got on Zillow, and there was a a lot that was, I think it was a 1,200 square foot lot for sale with an old beat up trailer, like a pull behind trailer. I mean, it was something you would find probably for $500 that was on that lot, and they wanted $650,000 for that. So I mean, this is a pretty expensive area, and I'm sure this was a gift of a couple $1 million to give this house. So I got to stay in that. It was really nice, and I was just really trying not to mess anything up. And but when I came outside, when I would come outside the front door, there would be chickens. I didn't remember this. I forgot all about this. I know that in Hawaii, there are chickens roaming around everywhere, and just feral chickens. I think there's a lot of things that are great about, say, Hawaii, but that's one of them. That's a thing that you don't get everywhere. And I forgot, Key West is like that. There are roosters and chickens running around everywhere, and they're feral. And I think they were always there. There's a lot of stories about it. And but when you open up the door, sometimes there's a mama hen with 7 or 10 baby chicks running behind her. So I figure, what the hell? I go out and I get the bag of cat food out of the car, and I throw it out there and feed the mama and the baby chicks the cat food. And then I'm like, oh yeah, should I do this? Is a cat food good? And I Google it. It says you do not want chickens to live on cat food, but it's actually a good thing for them to get every now and then. It's a good protein source that if they get every now and then as a supplement, that'd be good. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. So every time I open the door, there's a rooster standing out there. There's a different chicken, a lot of times there's babies, and they're all feral. But when you start feeding, if there's a rooster, the rooster's a lot braver, and it'll come pretty close to you. And so in all honesty, in my 3 days in Key West, I was doing that a lot, where I was just going somewhere and sitting next to my car. I went down to the beach and fed chickens. And then I later found out it's illegal to feed the chickens. So then at the gigs, I'm joking about this, about how, this just proves what an outlaw I am. I live on the edge of society. I'm, I don't care about society's laws and norms and blah, blah, blah. Being silly and making fun of myself until, I'm an outlaw because I feed chickens. It's like, if I'm going to get thrown in jail. Oh, highway just split. I wonder if I went the right direction. Yeah, I think I did. We'll find out soon. Alright. I don't want to mess it up any more than I usually do. So, yeah, that was my big joke, is I'm feeding the chickens. And honestly, I absolutely loved it. And I wish there were wild chickens in my neighborhood. I guess some people, the roosters will crow and it bothers them. I heard roosters every morning crowing, but it didn't bother me at all. I don't know if you guys can see, there's some yachts out here on the water. You probably can't see that. It says Yacht Club Drive. I'm guessing this is people in a little better tax bracket than myself. We're about ready to go up on a big bridge, and we're going to go across some ocean. I'm not sure whether you can see it or not, but let's see if I can show you guys a little bit of that. But I also, while I was there, I went to Ernest Hemingway's house, which was really great. And there's over 50 cats that live there. Hemingway had this huge mansion, like by today's standards, it's not that big a deal, but I loved it. It was like the old looking place that I love, 150-year-old house. The windows were everyone was arched. It was just beautiful. And I think it's really cool that writers used to live like that. Somebody like Ernest Hemingway could make so much money by being a writer and could be such a celebrity by being a writer. And I don't think that happens as much anymore. Maybe Stephen King might be the last version of that, but that would probably be more for the movies and such. I don't know. So I'm going across this causeway, and I don't think you can see anything because there's shrubbery on the side and such. But the cats, you guys might remember Hemingway had some six-toed cats. He had a six-toed cat that, a lot of bumps on this road. He had six-toed cats. Do you guys remember that? Any Hemingway fans out there? And it's kind of a part of the mystique there, and there's pictures of his, like on one paw there would be 6 toes. And there are direct descendants of that cat there amongst them that have 6 toes. There's one that was laying on his bed when I was there, that on each paw it had 6 toes, and it's just a strange, great thing. Some of the cats were super friendly, and man, talk about cats that have it really well. The cats living there on the Hemingway property have it really, really cush. Every cat should be so lucky. Oops. But I enjoyed that. I filmed a bunch of stuff there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I might put it on the Patreon stuff. I might sprinkle something else there. Or the Patreon and channel members. For some reason, I always just say Patreon. But you guys know what I mean. I'll upload that sometime when I get back home next week and can put some stuff together. That was a really fun thing to see that. There was a lighthouse across the street from Hemingway's property. And I didn't know this about Key West. I'll be honest, the Key West that I know about is like Jerry Jeff Walker going there. And the stuff that Keith Sykes told me here on the channel about him going there because Jerry Jeff Walker told him, no, you need to go there, this is cool. And then he meets Jimmy Buffett there. And Jimmy Buffett went to Key West because of Jerry Jeff Walker. And Key West, talking to the people that I met this week, they were in the 70s. You could go buy one of these houses for $10,000, like a really, really nice house in Key West. And it was, there's a lot of drug dens, a lot of crime. It was just it wasn't a real happening place as far as most folks. But then, like Keith Sykes said, he got there and there's girls water skiing naked. And they're partying and all this great music happening and all of that, and so that's happening at the same time. And that's most of what I know about Key West. My buddy Matt, who when I did I shouted him out a couple videos ago. His brother Ben published a book. Which book was it? It was the Bernie Taupin book, and they're old buddies of mine. Matt used to snorkel down here at Key West and taught snorkeling. Diving instructor, is that what you would call it? I don't remember, but I love Matt, and he would talk about it when I would see him, and you ought to come down sometime. And I'm like, yeah, I've never really been much of a beach guy, honestly. I love it when I go out to the beach. Like every morning I got up before the sun came up just so I could go down to the beach and watch the sunrise every morning that I was there. It's a special thing to me, and there'd be chickens all around me, and I really like that. But as far as going and laying out at the beach and swimming I've never been, I don't know, I'm not that into that. And But so I never went. That's most of what I would think of is like through my buddy Matt, or through these stories of Todd Snyder and Keith Sykes and some folks. But at the Hemingway house, I was reading different plaques, and I guess Key West was the richest town. Would it be town or city? I don't remember how they worded it. It was county, the richest county per capita in the USA, like the wealthiest, which, okay, that makes sense. President Truman had another White House in Key West where he would spend the winters, and I don't know whether he did this during World War II. I don't know, maybe it was after, I don't honestly know, but I didn't know that until I got here. And but they said it was the richest, we'll say, county per capita in the U.S. And then the Great Depression hit, and just a few years later, after being the richest, it was the poorest in the nation per capita, which is pretty amazing. And to try to turn it around, the mayor got this idea to try to promote tourism and try to get people to come there for money. And there were these famous people living there. So part of it was come to Key West and see such and such. Well, it worked, but after a while, if you're Ernest Hemingway, like, he would write about the gawkers, as he would call them, the gawkers that would show up looking at his house. And at the time, Ernest Hemingway's house is surrounded by 4 roads, and I mean, it still is now, but so your average person on vacation could stand there, and they're 30 feet from Ernest Hemingway's front door. There's where Ernie lives, and it was probably a pain in the ass. His privacy's gone and all of that. So he built a 6-foot brick wall out of reclaimed bricks all the way around his property. A 6-foot wall just to try to get some privacy. And then I guess they started planting it full of palm trees. I don't know the kinds of plants these were, but now it's just like thick all around, and it's unbelievably private, even though the streets are even more crowded or busy than they were back then. It's pretty neat. Hemingway's had a beautiful, beautiful place, and must have had a really interesting life. But I didn't know that about Key West, where it was once super wealthy, then poor, and then wealthy again, tourist town, and then drug dens, all this stuff that I didn't know. But I had a really fun time with it, and I don't know, I ended up, I didn't see any iguanas. I'm kind of surprised, but I guess I'm in the wrong season for that. But how far am I into my drive today? I'm 4 hours in. I think that's right. I'm 4 hours into a 21-hour drive, and I can feel my voice getting a little bit crackly. But I'm curious. Oh, here's one last story I'll tell you. Sometimes with this channel, okay, this one really hit me good and made me feel good about things. With this channel, I started it with no intentions whatsoever, no real ideas about it becoming anything. I just locked down, and I needed to distract myself, and I wanted to throw something positive out there. And so I just started talking, because I can't interview anybody, and I tell stories about whatever. Well, really early, one of the earliest videos I published on this channel was Jerry Jeff Walker passing away. And I love Jerry Jeff Walker's music. And that was my connection to him, was all through music that's coming out of a speaker, That's all it was. I didn't know anything. I never met him. I didn't know that many people connected to him. I did, I guess, more than I realized, but that was my connection. And when he passed away, I just said what Jerry Jeff Walker meant to me and why he's important and why he inspired so many people, including myself, through the force of his art to create art and live interesting lives, and just, trying to pay tribute the best I could. And it was just me talking. I think it's an uncut video, me talking into my phone. And that was one of the earliest videos that I published. And as a guy came to the show, came to both shows, but the first night we were talking, and he's just like, man, I want you to know, I was friends with Jerry Jeff, and we, I think 30 or 40 years, and they had business dealings together, and hung out just buddies, really close. He was with him there at the end and all that, and he said when Jerry Jeff passed away, I don't want to give up too much, but this is pretty much what he said. I apologize to him Doug, if you're out there, I apologize if I'm giving away too much here. But, your friend dies, and he goes home, and I went to bed. I think he said the next morning he got up and somehow found my video and watched it. And he said it really resonated with me that Jerry Jeff was reaching people, and it helped. And he's like, I cried after watching it. And he said, I just want you to know I've been watching the channel ever since, and it really struck me. And it just kind of, my heart's like feeling like, oh my God, it's just a beautiful thing for him to say. And you just don't know who's watching these videos. You try to I try to put a message in a bottle, is what I say these are. I throw it out into the ocean, and maybe somebody finds it. And there's a lot of people out there that find. There's another guy last night that came up to the show. I'm sorry, buddy, I forget your name. Had a cane, and he said that he laid tile for a living, lived in Miami, and him and his wife drove out to Key West for the show because he watches the videos. And he said he laid tile, and now he does it. I can't remember. He said because of the cane. Maybe he had an accident. I don't know. But he really enjoyed the videos. And I know that these people are scattered all over the U.S. and even overseas. And I may never meet most of you. But I want you to know, I know you're out there. And when people come up and they say nice things to me about the channel, and it's always nice. It's always cool people, nice people, and they say the nicest things. But when those people come up and say these things to me, I know that they're speaking for a lot of you who we may never cross paths. But if we do cross paths, be sure to come up and say hey. And because it's nice. I do this in seclusion. I'm in a car right now. I'm kind of exiting the Florida Keys. I believe this is like where the Everglades start. Right over here is where I'm at. I'm at mile marker 122 on Highway 1. You can look it up. So I do this by myself. So I don't know. I'm editing these videos by myself a lot of times, and so it's nice when you get the feedback. I talked about this with Guthrie. He's like, people send the nicest messages. It's like I get bombarded with 100 emails a day, and I just can't keep up. I can't keep up with the business emails, so I can't always answer them, but I do read everything, and I read the comments through here, and I just want you guys to know I really, truly do appreciate you guys being here, and and it's nice when I get to go to somewhere and connect with somebody, and that's kind of what that was the highlight, I think, of feeding chickens, petting cats, and meeting folks who get it, and getting to play the gigs were pretty great too, getting to play for people who enjoy it. And it's nice to play gigs in front of new audiences in cities. I've never been to Key West. I'm playing in a city where they've never heard my stories. Get to like bring all those old stories that I don't tell anymore because people have heard them too often and they're all brand new to these folks. That's always nice too. That's always a good thing. Some of you storytellers out there might appreciate that and know what I'm talking about. But if you dig this kind of video where I'm just talking about whatever, this is what I try to do once every week, sometimes a week or two, maybe not this long, but I'll do this kind of thing on my Patreon and my channel members, and it makes those interviews and all of that possible. Which reminds me, Doug, next time we cross paths, we need to interview you, and you can tell some of those Jerry Jeff Walker stories, because I'm sure you have quite a few of them. We need to make that happen, and I'm sure we will. But I appreciate you guys out there who support the channel by hitting the tip jar, or just clicking the like button, or commenting, saying something nice or whatever, or even becoming Patreon members or channel members. And now I'm coming to a complete stop on the interstate because of traffic, down to 28 mile an hour. Maybe it won't be a complete stop, but either way, I appreciate y'all being here, and I'm going to sign off, and I will see you somewhere down the road. Leave me a comment. If you made it this far, I don't know, man, what can we say? How about palm tree? I'm seeing palm trees still. Or mile marker 125. Tell me about mile marker 125 in the comment, and I'll know that you made it till the end, and I'll see you somewhere down the road. Much love to you.